This is a map of the modern Middle East. Between Egypt and Israel, the boundary is a perfectly straight line slicing through the Sinai Peninsula, running from Rafah down to the Gulf of Aqaba at Taba. This mathematical rigidity ignores the terrain. The Sinai is a landscape of deep wadis and harsh, rocky mountains, a topography that naturally resists straight lines. Popular history often suggests these boundaries were drawn by diplomats using rulers on blank maps to divide territory they didn't understand. In reality, the Rafah-Taba line was the result of a specific intelligence mission launched to prevent a conflict between two empires. This 1906 map shows the regional context. The British Empire controlled Egypt, while the Ottoman Empire held the Levant to the east. Tensions escalated when Ottoman troops occupied Taba. The British demanded a retreat, but the Ottomans refused, leading both sides toward a conflict over a border that existed on no reliable map. Without a formal boundary, the British lacked the legal evidence to prove Ottoman encroachment. They needed an immediate, comprehensive survey of the land to settle the claim. They assigned this mission to Naum Beg Shukayr, a scholar and intelligence officer based in Cairo. Shukayr was ordered to produce an encyclopedic history and geography of the Sinai, providing the factual basis for British territorial demands. In this imperial standoff, an accurate historical record proved more influential than a naval mobilization. Shukayr's survey corrected the imperial assumption that the Sinai was an impassable wasteland. He documented its specific strategic value for military movement. He identified ancient military and trade routes that had connected Africa and Asia for centuries, proving the desert was a traversable corridor. He also mapped the peninsula's maritime features, identifying specific coastal points that served as strategic harbors. His findings demonstrated that control of the Sinai meant control of the passage between two continents. By mapping these routes and coasts, Shukayr transformed a supposed void into a high-value asset that neither empire wanted to surrender. Shukayr also mapped the social landscape, documenting the people living in the desert's interior. He identified the Bedouin tribes as the keepers of the desert, living within an established system of territories and rights. He recorded Urf, the tribal laws that governed water access and survival. This customary law proved the land was managed under a long-standing legal tradition. This map shows the tribal boundaries and water nodes Shukayr recorded. Mapping these territories allowed him to define the human borders of the region. This demographic data provided the proof of continuous residency and administration the British needed to support their sovereignty claims. Shukayr's research established the desert as an organized society with deep historical roots. When negotiations resumed, the British used geographical data from Shukayr's survey as their primary leverage. The evidence of tribal history and administrative links provided the definitive support for the Egyptian claims. The Ottoman negotiators quickly found their own claims were geographically and historically unsupported when faced with Shukayr's highly detailed records. On October 1, 1906, both sides agreed to the Rafah-Taba line, averting war. This major conflict was resolved through the weight of historical and geographic data rather than combat. The 1906 Rafah-Taba line remains the international border today. Shukayr's History of Sinai became the foundational record for the Middle East's map. Modern borders frequently trace the paths of the scholars who first ventured into the terrain to document the truth of the land.